All right. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have the first session today. Is my presentation? Okay, my presentation is visible. Perfect. Little bit first, uh, something small about myself. I'm a partner and senior consultant at Arinti. I'm also in the community work. I'm a core member at dataMinds and the Belgian organizer of the Global AI Community events. And I also have my own YouTube live show, which is called AI Talk. And as you might notice, yeah, I'm quite passionate about everything that has to do with data and AI. But enough about me. What are we going to discuss in this 45-minute during session? Well, first we'll go through a little introduction about cognitive search, because we were calling it Azure Search before, but it has been rebranded to cognitive search. And then mostly it's going to be demo-wise. We'll do a quick setup and we'll go over all new features that has been released over the last couple of months. So let's just kick it off. So what is cognitive search? Well, actually, it's a SaaS product. And funny enough, it's not software as a service, but it's search as a service. Although it's also software as a service solution. So the tool for it, well, it's the idea is to have adding rich search experience to your own application over your own content. As you might see here in the slides, so we have your own data that is based in the cloud or saved behind a secure place. We will index the data, all the text that is in there, the images that are in there. And then because of the query engines, we will be able to use like Lucene queries on it to get data in more a natural language way out of it. Now, Azure Cognitive Search you can fully interact with it with REST APIs or the .NET SDKs. So that means you can also implement it in any application that you would like to do. Is it a web application? Is it Xamarin? Or is it a native application? It's perfectly possible. Now, what kind of features do you have? Well, as I said, you can query through Lucene query syntax to have the natural way that you don't need to always type the correct words, but you can have some writing mistakes in it. It has full text search. Then an interesting part also is the relevance. So when you search for something, you will get some kind of scoring on it, and that will tell you which document or which image will be most related to your search search query. Now, another interesting feature is geo search. Let's say the web, I don't know if booking.com is using it, but let's say the website of booking.com, you fill in, you're looking for a hotel in the neighborhood of Brussels. Well, by using geolocations, it will be able to look through your data and figure out what hotels are in the neighborhood and on which distance it is. So by making use of that extra data, again, the scoring or the relevance of your results will be pushed more to the top of your result list. And of course, a whole list of how to filter your data. Maybe for security wise, certain people you only want to show data from category X and other people need to be seeing data from category Y. That combined with facets, which is a list of items that you can get back. Let's say a category. A category might exist out of bikes, cars, clothes, and so on. If you make a facet around that, it means you also get it back as a list and can reuse it to filter it. Now, and then on UX based, it's an API, so you can do quite some things how you want to do it. But there's also some integrations with, some new features that give you implementations to Power BI or web app by default. Now, to make it easier and to make it easier understandable, I'll go to a demo website. Maybe most of the people have seen this one already. This is like the main demo Microsoft has around Azure Search, and it's a demo about the John F. Kennedy files. So a couple of years ago, the whole case around John F. Kennedy has been released, and all the documents around it, which were thousands scanned documents, images, PDFs, and so on. They've put all that data in Azure Search, and through that, you can now search it. So, well, we have the search term Oswald here already. And if I find my mouse back, okay, search, we'll get a list of documents where the word Oswald isn't used. But now notice here, this is OCR. This is an image, a scanned typed document, so it recognizes it. Also here we have handwriting, again, it recognizes it. Even pictures. So based on all these kind of data, you can quicker find insights within a big amount of documents. Now on the left side, you also see tags. For example, here we have John F. Kennedy or New York City. Now, if you search, for example, which is quite funny, look for SQL. There's even someone talking about SQL Server as the platform for the working documents. So, hey, they were already doing a good job at that time. So we see here the keywords, and then we have here, for example, one of the facets, if there's a redaction on the document or not. Now, let's go back to the slides. So cognitive search, the service itself exists out of 4 objects that are very important to know and understand what they do. So we have a data source. A data source can be different data source. So we have, for the moment, a SQL database that is allowed. We have a Cosmos DB SQL API that is possible, a blob storage, or the table storage. Now in private preview, already have now also Data Lake Gen 2, Gremlin API, and Cassandra API. So there's more coming. I'm sure also maybe in the future we'll have SharePoint and so on. Let's hope so, to have even more integrations with more data sources. Now, a second part is the skill set. And to explain what a skill set is, it's some kind of pipeline. So the skill set is a reference of how every step needs to be executed. So the first step will be gather the data. Maybe we want to do OCR on it. Maybe we want to do image recognition on it. Sorry, my daughter is playing around here. Then maybe a next step is translation and so onwards. So in that skill set, we will generate all the different new columns that need to be built. And then we have our index. So the index is, you can call it somehow a storage system where all the data is saved in, but it's also the structure of all your data. We'll see later on when I open the portal how things are looking, how it all looks like. And then we have the indexer itself. So the indexer is probably the most important part because it links all the three other objects. The indexer will tell that the data from this certain data source will need to go through this skill set, and the data needs to go into the index. It will also define which columns need to be saved to which field in your index. Now, new stuff is there. I'll start from November 2019, approximately. That's not that long ago. A very interesting new one that was the knowledge store. Why is that so important? Well, before we had the knowledge store within Azure's cognitive search, data was only available through the APIs, and there was no other way to get to that data. So in case you wanted to build, for example, some machine learning algorithm to improve data or to generate new data based on your data that has been generated already by cognitive search, there was no way to do it. So with knowledge store, you can link a new blob storage and table storage to your cognitive search. And every time files are indexed, also this data will be saved into those blob storage. So you can do reporting on it, or you can do more deeper analytics on it, and so on. Now, another new feature is also soft delete, what does that mean? When you'd remove a file from your blob storage, well, without the soft delete, the indexed file will always stay in your within your cognitive search index. Now, with soft delete, it also will check within your blob storage if a file has been deleted. And then you have two features. So you have a feature to just remove from your index, or you can say, I want to soft delete it also within your index. So that's two features that are possible. Why would you choose one above the other? Well, when you do a soft delete, your last modified date, if you add your file again, will not always notice that the file needs to be re-indexed. So that's why it might be better to just do a soft delete, so mark it with a field that your data has been removed. Now, all these things are very nice and new features that are added, but what we didn't have before is that we couldn't do updates of index, indexers, and data sources. Once you've created it, you can only add some things to it or removing it. So with the new preview API, you can also update your skills, your indexes, and so on. Now that in combination with another great feature, which is incremental enrichment. What is incremental enrichment? Well, it means that, let's say you have indexed 1 million documents, and now you want to add an extra skill. But actually before, it would mean that you had to re-index all your documents again. And if you use, for example, cognitive services or other APIs that cost money, well, it would cost you again the same amount because you need to recall all those APIs. Now with incremental enrichment, it will check what has changed and will only call the APIs or the skills that needs to be done. And that is done by saving all the data in some kind of cache that is also in a blob storage, and will remember for each document which skills it has executed. Another feature that has been added also, it's within the portal, and it's a small wizard that helps you to generate a quick web app. It's actually just an HTML file, and you can open it and you have a working portal to search through your documents. Now, if we talk about new skills, well, there's different things also there. Where before it was more general new stuff. On skill level, we have PII, so it's personal identity identifier, which means, for example, when you have names in documents or social security numbers and so on, well, these can't be masked, so it also doesn't get into your documents, and you can create your indexes GDPR proof, for example. Other features has been added is text translation, what actually could have been done already through using the web API skills, the custom API skills, but now it's built in and you can just call it. One feature that I really love that is new is custom entity. What is custom entity? Now, maybe some of you have heard about now I lost the word. Well, it's the way of recognizing named entity recognition. That was it, sorry. Named entity recognition is, for example, as I said already, recognizing people or recognizing dates, recognizing organizations, and so on. But of course, not all that data is available that fits your organization. Maybe you have a list of products that you would like to be seen recognized as an entity. Instead of just searching for it, that you just get a list of a specific product with its aliases, and it will be automatically indexed for you. And I just see I have
Sammy,
extra. Yes.
Sammy, quick question from the audience. Does PPI support multiple languages, like, for example, Dutch or French?
Yeah, well, for the moment, there's only English, but for example, it does recognize Rijksregister number, the Belgian Rijksregister number. So for multiple countries, they've already added specific identifiers, but on language level, it's only English. But I'm sure, I haven't tried it yet, if you give Dutch text in it, that it might still recognize, like, yeah, your social security number and so on. But
All right,
yeah,
thanks.
that I would need the test. Okay, enough slides. Let's go into Azure. Okay, we'll start with just creating a fresh search service, just so you have an idea of how you need to do it. So we'll add cognitive search, Azure Cognitive Search, say create. Now we give it a service name, Azure Day 2020, choose your location, always the closest to your neighborhood or where your customers are. And then pricing tier, well, it's quite nice. You have a free one, which actually for testing is quite good. And we go to scaling. For this, we can keep it like that. This is really, if you have your application is used by a lot of people, then you will need to add replicas to have quicker response of your APIs. So we'll leave it like this. Okay, the classic tags. I will start creating. So validating, and it gives me an error, probably because I already have a free tier. I'll just close it. I've already have one here, and it's fully empty. So I have, for the moment, no indexes, no indexers, no data source, and no skill sets. Let's start with the basics. We say import data. We'll connect to a blob storage where I'll just open my blob storage, have some files. So we have a digital PDF. I have a scanned PDF. I have a typed letter, a written letter. I have a picture of the Atomium. I have a picture of people, which is actually some leaders from the European Union. I have documents in another language also, and just a flat file. So this is already stored in my blob storage. So data source name, okay, I can just say existing connection. I'll connect to my data, my container, and my data source name will be demo data. Here I can select also specific folders in case you have within your blob storage structures, then you can also filter through there. Now, next step is adding your cognitive skills. What was actually in the beginning, you couldn't add these things at all. Well, not through visual UIs, you had to do it all in code. But later on, we will go back into code to add some extra stuff to it. So the first part is attaching your cognitive service. You have standard, the free one that you can use. I prefer to use already a service that I created. And then enrichment. Now, we have the name of our skill set. And if I enable this, we automatically will do OCR on the images, but also on images within documents. And then we have extra features. For example, text analytics. We want to get people, well, we want to figure out about which people are they talking about, what organizations, locations, key phrases. We want to detect the language, and we want to translate text automatically to English. So it will already check what language it is. So we have a document in French, and that French document will be translated to English. This is the traditional NLP skills. And then we have our image skills. For example, generate tags for image or a description to the image, and celebrities. We want to detect celebrities within our document. Now, as I discussed, the knowledge store is one of the new features. So by clicking here, we can say what we want to save to our knowledge store. I'm just going to say everything. And here we need to select again a connection string to our blob storage. So choose existing. And I'll create a new container, knowledge base. Create. Okay, knowledge base and select. I see someone is asking for a bit bigger screen, so I'll try to zoom in a bit. Okay. Hope this is better. Okay, so we can generate a URI. We will copy this in the meanwhile just in a document, so I can reuse it to show also the Power BI report. And I'll download the Power BI template. Okay, that's it. Now we can go to our index. We will just leave it like it is right now. We'll just put this search mode on. So within the index, you can configure, well, 7 different things. So the first one is retrievable. It means the API can give the data back of the specific column. So here's the content of the file. If it's filterable, but that means you need to have, let's say, your content equals to a string that says, "Hi, I am Sammy." Then you also need to say equals to "Hi, I am Sammy." So this is more on good for shorter fields. Sortable, well, that explains itself. The facetable is how I explained it, for example, for categories. And then searchable, well, that's a very important one. Combine this with your analyzer, you can have a more natural language search through it. So we'll just leave all these things like that right now, except the translated text is already on English, so that is perfect. And now we create an indexer. We'll just index it once for the moment, and we say submit. This doesn't take so long. Some of the other features that I want to show are not visible within the UI. So you'll need to go into, by using the REST APIs to update those items. All right, we're here. If I go to indexer, it's in process. We'll just refresh. It will give some warnings, but we can ignore them for now. Always takes longer during a demo. Meanwhile, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to ask on YouTube. So we see here now, well, it has some warnings, but it's successfully indexed 10 documents. So we'll just close this, and then you have the Search Explorer. And if you just say, yes.
Sammy, there are a couple of questions.
Okay. I don't see any questions.
There's one. Do you typically create these indexes manual, or do you use code or ARM or some other means of creating them?
Okay. So you can do it fully visually through the Azure portal. But as I said, some features are not available through the portal yet. So what you can do, you can use the SDK to build your indexes, your data sources, and so on, or you use the REST APIs. Well, the REST APIs I will go into in a second. I prefer through building it in code, or through the REST APIs, because I have a better overview of what is happening and in which order it's also been done. So if I now click search, we will just get all the documents. What do we get? Well, this is a manual I had written. And if you scroll down, you will see organizations. You might notice it's not always perfect. That's maybe something that could have been added also in the future, and they add some scoring to it. Let's say 50% sure that Belgium is an organization, so you can also filter on that, but that's not there at the moment. Locations, what are key phrases within that document? And there are quite a lot because it's a big document. Then we have for language or translate the text while it's in English, so it stays the same. And then we also get some the layout of the text. So by making use of this, you would be able to generate the document again, for example, on a web app. But now let me, for example, search for, let me just do a quick. Okay, so I told you I had a picture of leaders of the European Union, but there were no names on it. So if I open the picture, it's actually this picture. Yeah? And if we, as I said, I just searched in the query string Verhofstadt, we will have a list of celebrities, and we have all the people here that are on the picture. So this is really an enhancement on your data. If you have a lot of pictures and you're looking for a picture of someone, well, you can just search for his name and it will figure out what is there. What is also cool, it's the caption. So it says all the names and then they're posing for a photo. Okay, this is basic features. Let's go into Postman. With Postman, there's different functionality. Well, within the API, there's different functions that you can call. We'll use the skills, the index, the indexer, and the data source for now. Well, actually, the ones you really need. And if we get a skill, like let's say the skill sets, then we get a JSON that looks like, can I zoom? Okay. So what does a skill set look like? We will have all the different skills here. So this is a skill, the skill that does entity recognition, where we want to figure out what persons, quantities, organizations, emails, location, and date times are within your document. It will need an input, or merged document, and the language of the document. Well, here in this case, it's null by default. I would prefer to set it into a fixed language. So I would do, for example, my language detection before that, so it can use the correct model also for it. And then outputs, we will get different targets, which are creating new fields that you can use in your indexing later. So we have all different skills here: translation skill, merge skill, OCR skill, sharper skill. But now I want to add some skills. We'll go to the bottom of it. So here is our last one. And what do I have here is I want to add the PII detection skill. So I can just paste it in here. Oh, sorry, I need to copy this and say, go to my other call, which is actually already a copy of it. I'll just paste it, where I can put it to the REST API. And we go back to our outputs. So we have our last skill, which is the sharper skill. And now I copy my PII skill in it, where I need to do it is here. So this skill is not available yet within the portal, but you can add it through your skill set. So you're calling it by giving it the type of your skill. You can give some precision, and then what kind of masking do you want to do? So in this case, I want to replace it and do a caret by a stars. So, and then inputs, again, I want to do this on my translated text, and output will be the entities. So which fields did he find? Well, is it a name? Is it an organization, or so onwards? And then the output is the masked text on itself. In the meanwhile, I'll also add a second skill to it. I can share all this code later on also. I will put it in my slides and share it through, well, a link through Twitter so you can get it. So this is the custom entity lookup skill. As I said, there's named entities within your organization, like products, that of course Microsoft don't know. Therefore, you can use this custom entity lookup. What does it do? Well, I have a JSON file, and now we open it. Okay, I'll just open it from my Blob Storage. I can't find it locally. Other data. Now it's opening it in Visual Studio. What was not the purpose? Okay, so this is an array of different entities, of entity elements that it can recognize. So I could actually add another one here, and let's say product X, and give it categories and so on. So in this case, I'll just want to find my own name, although it's already found by the person skill, well, the named entity recognition. So if it finds now the Presa or Sammy D, it will link it to my name, and it will also add a description to it, Managing Partner at Arinti. Of course, this is just a demo. You can also add like that it doesn't need to be exactly the same, so some kind of scoring that you can add, but in this case, I'll just leave it like this. So what I do is, okay, I want to say this JSON file is saved on this blob storage, and so it gets the location of it. And then inputs is again, okay, the text, want to send my translated text, and output is entities, matched entities. So the target name will be, we can use later on the field matched entities to plug it into our fields. So I'll send this now to the Azure Search service, so I get an update. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, in the meanwhile, while it's running, I will get my index. So my index is all the fields that we see here. So if I go back to index, fields, it's all this data, but then in a JSON way. Well, the data is stored in JSON. Now I want to add there also some extra columns because I want to use my custom entity and I want to use my PII. So let me copy some fields because it's too much to just type. I'll copy this, do my update. And I have here my last one, and I just want to add, so I have now added a field PII entity. I added a field masked text, which is just a string. Now PII entity is quite a special one because it's a complex type. This is also, well, it's there already a while, but it's a feature that was not there in the beginning, which means you can have well, an object within an object of an array of objects within an object, which can give you a better functionality to use it within applications, for example. Now, so we have a collection of complex types, and it's a collection of these fields each time. Now, masked text is just a string, and we don't need to do anything else with it. And then we have custom entities, which is again a complex type with an array of specific fields. And one of those fields, which is name, which is matches, has again another complex type as fields. So all of these things are perfectly possible. Now, I will also update my index. Okay, if I go back to the portal and I do a refresh, we will see that these ones have been added. So I have my PII entities and I have my custom entities with its matches. I need to check my time also. So then, as I said, the one that connects everything to each other is your indexer. And also there we'll just get the latest version. I will want to edit it, so I'll post it with a put statement. And for my indexer, I need to add a mapping from different columns. So we have our last one here. So what I added now was that field document PI entities needs to be mapped to the field in your index PI entities. And the same for masked text, and masked entities will be mapped to custom entities. So that's it. I say send. Okay. So if I go back now to the portal, I'll reset it so the data can be recaptured again. Run. Okay. So while this is in progress, I want to add some small things that well, as I said, the soft delete, for example. If we go to data sources and we get our specific data source, you might notice that if you use a preview version, you will get also data deletion detection policy. Now we want to alter that one so it keeps track of soft deletes. So what I will do is we again copy this current definition. I'll paste it in this put statement. And the item, this one I will change to, well, that it needs to take into account deletion detection policy. Now you might also notice that my connection string is empty. It's because it doesn't want to return it through the REST API. You always need to reconfigure it. It doesn't, well, it saves it, but it doesn't return it. All right, let's just go back, refresh. Okay, now I'll go back to my Search Explorer. I remember I put in my name somewhere. So I have a content here, a text file, a small file that contains some little text. And it's also telling that that Sammy Deprez, who is working for Arinti, his IP address is blah, blah, blah. So if we go now to the masked text, we will notice that my name is gone, my IP address is gone, and my voice is also going. So sorry for that. We'll see the entities that it found. So myself as a person, the subtypes, well, I didn't fill in anything, and where in the file I can find it. Now the custom entities are exactly the same. It found my name as just Sammy Deprez, and it gave me the description to it. Okay, back to data source. So by adding this deletion policy, and I updated it, well, I update it. Now, if I delete a file, it will also be removed from my index. I didn't configure it that way that a field within my Azure Search would be set as, well, be set to as a soft delete. So it will actually fully remove the data. Now, the one last thing that I find very interesting is, now I forgot where I have to put it on the indexer. Again, if you use the preview version, you will notice that it generates an empty field here, cache. So I want to update that. And what I fill in here, so it says that files can be reprocessed if something changes in the skill set. And the cache is stored within a blob storage. So therefore, I had to give in another storage connection string that can be used to save all these things. So if I now say send, actually, this is something. Okay. Actually, this is something you should do in the beginning before your data has been indexed. So that way, you wouldn't get this message that you need to reset it. So we'll reset. Okay. And okay, so now my cache is configured. If I do a rerun, go back to my demo, indexer, and I run it again. Now we'll go to the blob storage and see what happens there. Okay. Meanwhile, if you go to our storage account, we have, I'll just refresh my containers. The knowledge base store, where you will notice, well, it's all qubits with data in it. And this is actually the document that you also find back within Azure Search. We see another blob storage that container that has been added, which is your indexer cache. And on top of that, we have our tables. And in the tables, we will find extra data about our skill sets. So which images it used, what entities, images, key phrases, and so on. And all your images are also saved within within another blob storage. So why is this now handy? Well, let me open Power BI. Could have started that beforehand. Come on. Okay, so I copied some data before that I was receiving when I was configuring the knowledge base. So now I can fill in all these details here. I have my storage account name. I have my content field, which is merged content. And I have my skill sets. That's it, loads. Getting the data for the moment. I will show it immediately back on my screen. I can't move it at the moment. Okay. In the meanwhile, if you go to indexes, Azure Blob Index, you have the web app that I was telling you, create search app. And now everything goes slow. Okay, you need to enable course, create search app. Okay, and then you can select how your page looks like. Well, I didn't have a specific image path now, so I'll just keep this empty. I can have a title, what I will give language, and description will be my translated text. This is just for a quick demo. I click next. Then you see all the fields that it can show. I will also leave it like that. Say next. And suggestion will also like that. And we download, and it creates as an HTML file where we can immediately search. So if I say Sammy, well, we get the two files where my name is used in. Notice this. This is just my Azure username, but because it's linked to my custom entity, it recognized it also as Sammy. Now, in the meantime, my Power BI report has loaded. And yeah, now you have just an overview of all your data. So you have your keywords, which keywords are used the most, what kind of entities have been viewed, what are the locations that are used. You have a graph of all your data, which you need to filter it out a bit to have a decent view. This is just by default. And then, yeah, you just see your entities again. And then you have also this one where you can see your, well, the images exactly. So we'll see that manual docx has 13 images. Well, was actually a document that explains how you can use SQL master data services. So this is all correct. We have a digital PDF with some images in it. We have a written letter with all the text and the handwriting. We have a typed letter, exactly the same. Scanned PDF, also perfectly worked. We have a picture of the atomium. Well, there's no text, but there might be a caption. And then the same for people. We'll go back to my slides. All right, that was it. I guess it was a lot, but if you have any questions, well, shoot.
All right, thank you, Sammy. Right now, no questions on the YouTube chat, I see. So I think we can probably wrap it up. Yeah. I see my colleague Chris has been replaced by a nice bookshelf. But anyway, thank you for joining us today. And to the folks watching online, we will be back in a little bit. If you have any questions, reach out to Sammy on Twitter. Or I think, Sammy, will you hang out in the YouTube chat as well?
I can still hang out a bit in the YouTube chat. That's no problem.
That makes sense. Cool. Thank you very much.
All right.
And,
thanks for having me.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a good 10 minutes. See you, folks.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.